We're about to see what happens when you take an animal conservationist who has spent her whole life protecting animals of all kind and make her swap lives with a family who literally owns a hunting company. And let's just say things are not pretty, as the new husband this lady has to have on this episode of Wife Swap is absolutely demented, and this dude goes out of his way to psychologically torment this woman. I don't want to spoil too much. Make sure you drop a like, or else everybody's gonna notice your stinky socks tomorrow, and you don't want that. Without any further ado, let's get right on into it, shall we?
There are a lot of kids here. With this many kids in the house, I really don't even know what to say.
So yeah, this lady's meeting her new family, and turns out these people have 6 kids. The story is they had 2 daughters and wanted to try for a boy, and wouldn't you know it, they were blessed with not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 freaking kids at one time. I can't even fathom how you process that body-wise to even hold that many kids. I mean, I know we had Octomom, she's putting in twice that amount, but still, props to you for getting through that. And also, yeah, it just seems like this family is rambunctious as hell. You got the dad, Bubba, who we're about to meet, which, I'm sorry, but this dude, he is just destined to be Bubba. Okay, that name is the only fitting name for a face like this. This dude is Bubba. And, well, needless to say, he's got a very, I guess you could say, old school way of parenting. And I say that in the nicest way possible. But yeah, basically he believes that if anybody in his household starts acting up, they need a whooping, just like he got when he was, you know, being raised. And also, the man of the house apparently doesn't have to work at all, but we're going to get into that. And this poor lady's lost. She's not even going to be able to remember these kids' names because there's just too damn many of them. But yeah, to start things off, they go for a nice walk around the property, and we instantly start to see some red flags from old Bubba over here.
You okay?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Little monkeys.
Hey, you say yes, ma'am.
So yeah, I'm not going to show too much of this because really it's not that intense, but needless to say, we know how this site is with anything involving this kind of topic. This guy is straight up trying to drag this girl around by her wrist saying, hey, you need to say yes, ma'am. I mean, it's such a small thing. This lady obviously doesn't care about it, but we see how willing this dad is to just kind of manhandle them and get them to do what he wants, which apparently is everything because this guy also claims to not do anything around the house. He makes the money for the family, puts the roof over their head, and considers that to be a job well done, but we all know it takes more than that to parent, bro. And yeah, this guy has a very short temper, and it seems he's taking his anger out on them quite often.
You like butt weapons?
Oh, heck no.
They spank.
Which is kind of very sad to see.
I feel really uncomfortable because he kept on and kept on and kept on. And she's clearly scared, embarrassed.
And even this lady's like, yeah, I didn't think that the show was going to let this kind of happen. As I'm, you know, here experiencing their lives, it made me very uncomfortable. This girl was obviously feeling awkward and just didn't know what to say in front of this new lady she just met. And yeah, needless to say, the vibes are way, way off. She already has a very bad idea of how Bubba is as a father, and it's only going to get worse from here.
I'm mad at you.
I mean, even as they're walking in, it looks like he looks at the cameraman like, oh, I can't believe these kids are so embarrassing. I cannot believe she was acting up like that. Like, he just seems pissed off for no reason. Like, dude, she didn't say ma'am once. I understand that's a respect thing that you're trying to teach her, but if she's also being really shy right now, it's probably because these cameras are around and you're filming a freaking TV show.
They take care of everything. My husband, he will help, and Bubba does nothing.
So yeah, the kids are making the dinner here, which sounds like it's a very normal thing they do, as Bubba goes over and sits on the couch, just waiting for one of the other kids to act up so he can work on some new Tekken Street Fighter combos. Okay, that was a little far, but you know what I mean? Like, basically, these other 2 older daughters are forced to be the adults of the house because they are, you know, the kids, they're lucky to have a roof over their heads, and therefore they got to take care of their other 4 siblings that mom and dad wish they didn't have, all at the same time at least. Which now the other rambunctious 4 are getting into fights and really pissing each other off as dinner is being cooked. And this lady is trying to talk to them, where clearly they're not used to being talked to about issues. They don't know how to handle this. The kid's got his freaking fingers in his ears so that he doesn't have to hear her BS. And instead, Bubba's over in the corner like, well, why don't you just smack him around a little bit? That's what I do. Come on. Show him what's good. Show him who's boss. And this lady just refuses to, even though, you know, she's playing by the wife's rules. But according to Bubba, that's the way to solve every problem with kids, which is just not true. So as if the vibes weren't already off enough, now Bubba takes her for a walk around their sanctuary where they hunt different birds and things like that. And he shows her how he trains his hunting dogs, which I'm not against hunting, but just the way that this guy does this to her the first day really seems like he's trying to punish her for being an animal lover. I mean, he knows by now that she's a conservationist or whatever it's called. She's not down for the sport hunting thing that they're all about in this family. Yet he takes her out and trains these dogs by setting free birds, and she thinks they're just going to be, you know, like the petrified birds after they've already passed on. No, these are birds that are flying and trying to escape. The dog gets them, and the dude just lets them rip them apart in his hand in front of this lady. She's literally petrified. I mean, I'm not making this up. This lady looks like she's about to start crying because she's seen some straight up 4chan-ish right here, okay? This is like the first time you accidentally see one of those crazy gifts from south of the border and you're forever altered, okay? That's this lady's version of that, because she was not thinking that these things were going to be alive and then not a couple seconds later, and she's really having a hard time trying to process it. Meanwhile, Bubba's like, yeah, good job, bite his head off, you deserve it. Good job, boy. And I get it. Again, he's trying to train hunting dogs. I'm not against hunting. It's just the way that he framed this and structured this and really tried to do this for shock value is kind of dark and twisted to me. I'm sure you guys agree.
This is horrific. That's not something that I feel comfortable with.
He did his job. He found the bird.
So if things weren't already worse enough, now he takes her to their, I don't know, he just said like 1,000 square foot giant kennel for their dogs, who he claims, you know, all animals are put on this earth to work and to do certain tasks, which I agree. I think a lot of dogs obviously find fulfillment in doing jobs that they have historically done. I mean, you look at huskies, you know, running around in Alaska being sled dogs or whatever breed is sled dogs. I'm probably wrong about that, but they love that shit, dude. That is my worst nightmare, and they love it. But also, you can still have compassion and treat these things like your pet still. He just is so cold, and he enjoys seeing them out in these kennels here, and it's just painful for this lady. Again, she is having psychological warfare enacted on her this entire day. It's the first freaking day, and he's just showing her this stuff that to her is highly traumatic and sad. She's crying left and right, and just seeing like that there's these old dogs here. They don't even have a doggy bed. He's like, well, they can lay on the box inside the kennel. It's like, okay, I guess you can count that, but I mean, seriously, dude, you got like 100 dogs here. You can't treat them a little bit better?
So he's too old to hunt now?
Yes.
So he's looking for a home.
I don't know about that. I think he's just gonna wither away out here in the garage. I think that's kind of the plan for him. That's usually what we do, and then we scoop him up and just make room for the next puppy that's here strictly to hunt these birds. Like, dude is just so cold. I mean, this is just crazy.
Okay.
And we're gonna get you just to start washing out the kennels.
Okay, and the dogs will go, I guess,
Yes.
into the pen.
Yes,
and
they will.
hide.
So she ends the day having to clean out the absolute terrible floors of this area. I'm sure you can imagine the smell. And that leads us into the end of week 1. Apparently that was her entire week, was having to take care of these dogs and train them to go hunt. So now it's time for the rule changes, which the first rule change, the dad has a big opposition to for some reason.
Notice that 2 of them were elderly. So I am buying them dog beds.
They have one of those in the pen.
No.
Yeah, she's simply trying to get beds, not for all the dogs even, just for the 2 really old dogs that she saw, so that their poor hips aren't being damaged by just laying down on the hard concrete or the hay box or whatever it is. And this dude seriously opposes this as if this is some big upheaval of his life. Talk about a monster, bro.
That's not a bed.
That's a dog bed.
No, not for an elderly dog.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna work.
I don't know if that one's gonna work out. I really don't see these things as even animals that deserve respect at all, so I don't think I want to give them a bed. Like, seriously, that came out of your mouth? It's not even out of your pocket. This lady or the show is gonna pay for it. You're getting free support for your animals, and you don't even like it. Like, this guy is so crazy, dude.
Instead of hunting, we're going herping.
What is that?
And you just heard the next rule. They're going to go herping, which apparently is going out to observe amphibians and reptiles, things like that. The kids are like, what do you mean observe? At what point do we explode their heads so that we can eat them? Like, seriously, this whole family is so freaking hunting pilled. It's crazy. And the final rule is for the 2 older daughters. She's going to get a night out to go take them out to dinner while the dad has to watch these 4 kids. And he acts like that is somehow easier to swallow than giving the 2 dogs that were senior citizens a simple bed that probably cost $10 from Costco. It shows this dude really just does not see any of his animals as worthy of respect or appreciation. I don't know why I'm taking this so seriously, but I mean, I'm just getting the worst vibes from this dude, and so is she.
I'm the The turtle. We're gonna put it in that tiny
No, we're not
bucket.
killing any turtles with hooks.
And I wasn't lying. They're actually out hunting or herping. God, that's a terrible term for that. And this kid's like, so how do I puncture the turtle shell with this tool? Can you teach me how to hunt with this thing? I mean, these kids, they would do amazing back in caveman time. I'm sure they would survive as a pack. I mean, this family in general, very well. But this is modern times, okay? We can just look at animals and appreciate them as well, buddy. And that's what she teaches them. She shows them facts about these little cicadas, things like that. And I gotta admit, the dad finally does something positive this episode and gives this lady some props.
Kim seems to know a lot, you know, about nature and about plants and about insects, a lot more than I know.
Wow, she actually knows something. I really didn't think that this lady could know anything. I thought she was kind of dumb like the rest of them, but I guess so. Just kidding. I actually don't think this guy's all that misogynistic, but he probably is considering how else he's been this video. I mean, he gives me those vibes. The lady in her rules book, which I skipped that part, she said, my man always wants to be right even when he's not right most of the time. That's Bubba, all right? He's not the smartest cookie, but he wants to be considered it in terms of being the leader of his family, even though, again, he has never cooked for them and kind of just sits around outside of work. So I'm not sure how he's really being the boss of the family besides bossing them around 24/7. But oh, finally something freaking positive happens, and this lady is able to put 2 doggy beds in for these dogs. I wish she could have just done it for all of them, but I understand that's expensive. I think this dude said they had 60 dogs or something crazy like that. I mean, this is a low budget show we're talking about here. I'm surprised they even pick them up in limos on the way back. And I don't know about you, but body language of this guy, he almost looks like he can't even stand to see the sight of these dogs being taken care of. He looks at her and averts his eyes like, oh, this pisses me off. PMO right here. She's actually trying to take care of these dogs. She thinks these things are anything better than some hunting machines. God, she's such an idiot. Like, imagine being that miserable. And what's so funny is at this point, the show tries to stir up some drama because she takes these girls out and they're off to dinner and they keep playing this Vine boom sound, but like not the official Vine boom sound, probably just some royalty-free BS. And they play it every time that he's slightly inconvenienced by watching these kids. None of it seems that difficult, but he's like, you guys told me you wanted pepperoni when I ordered these pizzas, and now everyone's saying that they want cheese. And then you just hear the boom. It's like so ridiculous. Or whatever that sound effect is that sounds like metal scraping on another piece of metal. Whenever there's something intense that happens, I mean, just think of like Kitchen Nightmares. They keep playing that damn sound. When really, I think they just couldn't find clips of him actually being an asshole anymore because he seems to be toning it down for the camera at this point. And at dinner, this lady really asked these kids if they can try to have a serious conversation with their parents about how much responsibility they're being put under because these girls are being forced to grow up very fast. This one girl is about to be off to college next year, and she's going to leave the other poor sister in the dust, having to be mother number 2 to these kids, or for the foreseeable future until she graduates and gets the hell out of there too. And what's their response? Let's see how open these parents are in these kids' eyes.
No, we can't.
They don't
They'll
care.
start yelling and
We're the adults. You're the kid.
Oh, you think we can actually have mature, emotional conversations with them where they treat us with respect or see us as equals? No, we're the dumb kids and they're the smart adults. Like, seriously, this dad just sounds like Danny DeVito and Matilda right now. Dude is an actual NPC. So with that, it wraps up the final week of this show, and we get back to the table where not much happens besides them kind of just, they're talking about Bubba's tendency to wanna, you know, smack some sense into these fools and how wrong it is in her eyes, which I totally agree with her, and I'm sure many of you do too. That is not productive, and I'm sorry, I don't care if it was the way you were raised. I'm sure he's gonna say some shit like that, but that's not an excuse.
I just know the way that I was raised, and that's just the way it is.
He literally did say that, and I'm sorry. Like, he's basically saying, look, I've never taken the time to have enough emotional maturity or self-reflection to really look into myself and my soul and understand what's a shortcoming in my life and how that's probably a direct result of sense being smacked into me by my dad when I was their age. But just because I've never taken the time to unpack that, I'm gonna consider it to be the golden standard of parenting, and I'm gonna do nothing different than my parents. Like, it's crazy to have this mindset as a grown-ass adult. You've done no reflection. And he just sees that as being fine. So he's like, you know what? If it has to be done, it has to be done, all right? I'm training them for the real world, and it's gonna beat them up too. Here's where we get to the end of the episode where they give us a little slide saying the update. And the update is basically, yeah, their hunting farm is still open, and some snake portrait that was taken to this mom that we didn't see in this episode because I wasn't covering her side is being hung up in their house. Nothing about any changes they made. It sounds like the kids are still miserable, still worried about how dad might react to them messing up and not saying ma'am or something like that. This whole episode just really did my head in. So I want to know what you thought down in the comments below. Let me know if you want more wife swap. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until next time, peace out.